6 weeks ago, Central Illinois native Amy Biles launched a new volleyball club in Bloomington. It was aimed at catering to a market few, if any, in the area are really serving: boys. The hope was to have enough of a turnout to create boys' teams that could play others in the state, but Biles has had to do some pivoting since that didn't happen. But she tells WGLT's Lindsay Jones she's confident that now that she's built it, they will eventually come.
The reason that this all started was because I took an opportunity in HR and it just wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. And so I kind of had a whole midlife crisis, I guess, for a millennial. And, it just wasn't a good cultural fit. Real. And so I decided to quit my job. And then I was just going to do girls, but I was kind of looking at, the environment. I was starting my business plan, looking at the environment here. And in the same week, the Pantograph posted an article about Michael Coleman's son, who drives all the way to Joliet to play competitive volleyball. And then, I kid you not, I saw boys peppering, which is just a simple plain volleyball on the side, not a real game. I saw literally 12 groups of boys peppering in random locations. And I was like, okay, that's it. We need to have a boys team here. And I know it's going to be slow to develop, but we're getting there.
So tell me a little bit about some of the challenges in getting that started.
So I think there's a lot of different reasons why it's struggled in Central Illinois. First is we don't have a club devoted to boys. So I promised to protect this space and to go with the mantra, if I build it, they will come. They're not here yet, but they will come. And I'm faithful. I'm very, very faithful that that's going to happen. But I think for here in Central Illinois, it's kind of a Title IX issue, right? So they're even right now. The sports are. And so that's why it's been a struggle to get it in school. But then in terms of the smaller schools too, when you have a small school, especially some of the small private schools like Calvary or even Central Catholic, these kids are playing multiple sports, and the teams literally don't exist if these kids don't play baseball and basketball and volleyball. And when volleyball for boys doesn't have a set, the club season overlaps multiple sports. And so that's a barrier right there, right? As a club, we have to be flexible to those schedules and to allow these athletes to pursue multiple passions.
So tell me a little bit logistically about how the model is working. So you've been open 6 weeks. What does it look like when you're in here on Monday and Friday nights?
Logistically, it is, I would say, a lot of pivot, right? That scene from Friends where they're like, pivot, right? So we had boys tryouts, and that's exactly we started with boys tryouts. We didn't really host any open gyms just because the club schedule, and when I started this, it was time to go. And unfortunately, that didn't pan out. So we were like, okay, what does the community need? The community needs opportunities to explore that volleyball is even a thing. And they need drop-ins. Parents have told me that they need flexibility. So I'm just trying to kind of adjust to that. I think I am kind of thinking about the pipeline, though, and building how I'm going to build the club. And so I'm looking into the future, and there's a couple times over November and December where I'm going to do 3-week mini seasons, introduction to volleyball for elementary kids and junior hires. And I hope to just, get them in an hour per practice, and just get them going. Currently, it's been growth, right? So the first night at tryouts, we had about 10 athletes in here, and then this last week we had 11 athletes total for the 2 open gyms. So the goal is to just keep it nice and simple until we consistently have about 14 athletes, and then from there we'll start breaking it down and growing into different sessions in that sense.
Yeah. For any of the boys that have come in so far, have you been able to have discussions with any of their parents or any of their families, or even with them about the barriers that exist to getting into volleyball, specifically for boys in Central Illinois?
Yeah. there's a very strong group that were from Peoria. These boys were incredibly good. Another barrier that was really, really difficult is the age groups, because like for tryouts, I had 10 kids, but they were all different ages, and the way that boys develop and the way that girls develop, I could probably throw a 15-year-old girl and a 17-year-old girl on the same team, and it be pretty consistent play. And boys, that 15 age group to that 17 age group is drastically different. Like, that's a lot of development between those two age groups. And I'm just talking like the speed at which they hit the ball, the force behind it, that's a lot different. And so the age groups was hard. But honestly, I mean, I spoke with parents in Peoria and Champaign, and they both just said, like the distance is kind of hard. So ideally there is a team in Springfield. Springfield Shock now has a boys program. They're in their 3rd year, and they've got a team, and I'm working closely with that director to try and build up here so that we can compete with them, right? But ideally, if we had Champaign and Peoria and maybe Decatur, if we had boys teams in each of those locations, we could have an affordable program for boys to compete locally. We wouldn't need to go to Chicago or to St. Louis. So we need one in each spot. We'll get there.
Yeah.
That was Normal Flight Volleyball Club founder Amy Biles speaking to WGLT's Lindsay Jones.